Hi everybody, welcome to episode 83 of the Run to Hills podcast, sponsored by Chia Charge. Chia Charge have been fueling adventures with real food made with real ingredients since 2012. Go and check them out at www.chiacharge.co.uk. Oh, that was take two. We had
Gary, take one was gross.
We had a moment, didn't we?
No, not we, you.
Yeah, sorry, I had a moment. We got through that first hurdle done. Yeah. How are you, Edwina, this week?
Oh, Gary, you're a bit coldy, aren't you? You're a bit under the weather. Well, I'm much better. Last week when I listened back, I don't listen to our podcast a lot because it's just awful to hear your own voice. You're like, I don't sound like that. I didn't listen back and I did sound a bit like Pat Butcher. So I feel much better this week. I'm back. But I did take a few days really easy, like I said I was going to. And then Wednesday, I thought, I was back. And I managed to, I crammed all my sessions then into the back end of the week. So they were, oh my God. So I did my power session on Wednesday.
Goodness me.
I did my long run on Thursday. And then Friday, I did another long run. And then Saturday, I did.
You're not happy about this?
No, I know. Sorry. Saturday, I had uphill session to do. And I was like, I cannot do running that. I can't. So that's the beauty. I was like, I'm going to do it on skis because my poor legs are going to hang off. So I put my skis on and there's a piece where I drop Evie for her ski school Saturday morning, which is perfect for uphill. An ice blue, so it's not too steep. And so I did my six by 8 minutes uphill on my skis, and I did. It takes about, or on a good day, and depending on snow conditions, it takes about 40. Well, last year it used to take me an hour, and this year it takes me about 42, 43 minutes to get to the top, depending on the snow, because if the snow's like hard, it's much quicker. So I did my uphill efforts. I've had real issues remembering stuff this week. I forgot my heart rate monitor, that one. And I have to use my heart rate monitor because otherwise I go too hard because I just love a session. And so I didn't have my heart. I was like, I don't know. I'm always like, am I working hard enough? I can push a little bit harder. I pushed so hard, did my first up, got to the top, and my neck was hurting because I think I was pushing so hard that I was like crying. And it was a little bit icy, so I was slightly tense because one slip and you're like going down a piece backwards. So I was like, I think my neck is really tight. And then the second up, the sun had come up. I joke you not, I started in like -3, which for here is like quite warm, and my car at the end said 24 degrees. That was the difference in the temperature once the sun hit the snow. I absolutely destroyed myself with these 8 minutes going the second one up. As I went round the last corner, this lady who I see every Saturday morning when I do skiing on it, older lady, that means nothing in the Alps. So age is not, I came across my head. I was like, I'm going to get you. I'm going to teach you a lesson. This poor lady. She's that. Anyway, past her. And I was like, I couldn't breathe. Anyway, then there's a last bit. It's called the Muir. There's a last tiny little steep bit. It's tiny, but it is steep. She tried to come past me. I was like, whoa there. I was like, I really thought I was going so fast. I dropped her and she hung on the back, come past. I was like, I'm not quite the Olympic level schemo race.
I love these little races that happen when you're on a run, or I never do ski, but a run.
I got to the top. I was literally lactate hell. I just had to lean over my skis. And so all these tourists Saturday morning just arrived for their lovely ski holiday. And there's me. By this time I had my just my t-shirt and some old leggings on. They're in like full helmets, goggles, ready to ski. I'm like, and I was so hot. I was like, I'm going to have to take my t-shirt off because I cannot ski down in this disgustingly sweaty thing because then I'm going to be freezing. So I didn't really think about the impact of that. So I took my standing in at a sports bar on chairlift going over the top of me with all these guys on it, and they were like, whoa, I for kids. It's not interesting. Anyway, so that was I just thought that was quite a funny story. Put all my clothes on, skied down, and then I had another. So again, then I did another. God, when I talk about this on the podcast, I realize I make myself sound absolutely insane. Because then I'm like, oh yeah, and then the next session. But it's not all like super, super hard. And like, yeah, that skiing was really hard, but it had no, I find like cross training, like you can go on Zwift and it had very different impact to, if I'd done that running, I wouldn't have then been able to do another running session the next day because it's not impact. And because I'm not very good at skiing, I can't actually really go that fast. Then the next day I did my first flat road session, still had 1,000 feet of climbing in, but that's still pretty flat. I put on my road trainers. 665544332211.
Oh, that's what all those numbers are. I see.
That's what the numbers are, with 1 minute jog in between. And so I tried to do it. So like one was uphill, slightly uphill. It's about 5%, between 5 and 8% outside my house gradient. So I tried to do like one uphill or like half uphill and turn around. And every time I'd had to turn around, I'd turn around really, really slow on the road to be like, just a little recovery down. Oh, it felt so good. I had shorts, I had a vest on. It was spring. I was moving, wasn't on my treadmill, so I wasn't scared. And I saw some 5-minute mile pace, Gary.
It's always nice when you see that number, isn't it?
I was like, I can, because on the treadmill, as I was saying last week, I find 6-minute mile pace like really hard.
Yeah, okay.
Like just find the leg speed. Like I feel, and then when I was on the road, I was like, I can still, the old legs can still move a little bit faster.
And so what would be your road shoes? What shoes did you have on?
They're called Asics Glide.
Okay.
They're really comfy. I like them. They're quite, they've got, I'm showing.
Bit of cushioning.
Yeah, it got a bit of cushioning. So you couldn't wear them anywhere but on a road because you just go for your ankle. So I was so happy with that session. I was like, can't wait to see the stats. And as I got to like the 2-minute efforts, my freaking Garmin died. I was like, no, I'm never going to know. I'm never going to know.
I suppose it doesn't then, does it? It doesn't save that.
Yeah, right. Saved. It was like saving dead.
Yeah.
So then, of course, I spent an inordinate amount of time in the evening Googling how to find a file off it. I was like, honestly, I was like, this is an hour. What does it matter? It doesn't really matter. I felt good. I did a good session. So, so in the end, maybe I piled that week a bit too heavy, but I did get better. And I started this week with a bang because I've seen what's coming at the end of this week. -10, 15 centimeters of snow. No, it's
so sad. I thought we turned a corner.
I thought we'd all turned. Everyone's had enough of that. So I've done my long run already this week. One of my long runs, because there's 2 this week, but I've done one. Then I'm like, if the other one maybe happens in a different form, I've ticked off one, went on the trails with the dogs, tried to find a new trail, and it ended up being a good 3 and a bit hours where I didn't really want to go that long anyway. We ran about 40 minutes and then we did a little stop on a log, got a gel and a biscuit.
Oh, I love that.
The dog gels for me, not the other way around. And then we started running uphill and I was like, I'm going to run to Graydon, which is this tiny little cluster of houses with a little church that in the winter is totally cut off because you can't get to it. So I was like, I'm going to. And so I did this, and I know lots of runners will do this. You start, and then you're like, I don't really need to run all the way. But now I've started, I want to get there. I want to keep going. And I knew that you could do like a circle round to come back in another village, which would take me closer to where I'd parked the van. Yeah. So it took me. I haven't run uphill, not on snow, for my calves, my legs were like, oh my God, this is hurting on trail. Like, I kept going over on my ankles. I was like, I can't believe I just do this for fun. I got up to the top and the path down the other way was still absolutely snow. And it wasn't just snow, it was like ice. So I was like, it's taken me almost 2 hours to get up here. I've got to turn around and come back again. And the downhill was about 45 minutes of downhill. And so I thought, okay, I just take this steady because my quads have not run downhill for that long a time. Oh, by the end of it, my legs were like shaking.
No way.
I had to stop on the log again and have another gel. So I bonked the downhill, and I was only going at like 8-minute mile. I could not, and that's downhill. I was like, I can't do it. And then it's a steady uphill all the way back to the van, and I was having serious. I had 2 dog biscuits left, and I was like, should I sleep those? Because I'm not sure I can get back to the van. I was anyway.
Did you have any DOMs?
What an adventure.
How are your quads though? Were they okay the next day?
So this morning,
All right.
I had a power session to do. It's a shot like uphills to get the legs firing. No power. I jogged around for like 20 minutes. I was like, it's not getting any better. Come on, let's just try. I had 10 to do. I was like, show willing, and I did 2, and I was like, there isn't any. So let's just use this as a bit of like leg movement. And see, I've been running for how many years? 30 years, and I still do the same things every week. Wrong.
Well, we hear this quite often, actually. People who you look at, elite athletes, and you think they've just got it all sorted, but maybe not the same mistakes, but same anxieties. It's like,
why didn't I take another gel? Why didn't I turn around earlier?
Yeah.
Why, if you do your long run at the beginning of the week, you're going to just ruin the rest of the week, especially if you choose that all up the route. Anyway, I loved it. And I often think about with the running, like, yeah, I follow my plan. I want to be competitive, but also I love just doing stupid stuff like that.
Yeah. I like
anyway,
it.
What a week. Sorry, Gary. I twittered on.
Well, I thought I'd ask you first. You mentioned about your peanut butter dunking antics. I was just it troubled me when I was thinking about it. And I was it's the communal jar etiquette. Were you double dunking so you'd have a bite and then you'd go back in again?
For sure. It's like one of those, what is it? How many kilograms is it? One of those big.
All right, yeah, massive.
And I have to say, I'm probably one of the sole eaters. Very occasionally, someone will ask for something with peanut butter in, but it's not a popular. In France, they have an incredible array. Anyone that knows us has been to a Carrefour of jams, chocolate spreads, stuff. So the kids are not short on some sort of sugar-filled, totally terrible for you toast or sandwich filling. So the peanut butter is low on their choice.
Okay, fair enough.
So it is personal, but I would still double dunk.
And is it littered with crumbs? The top of your take.
I've done it once, Gary. It's not an everyday occurrence.
I don't like that. If I go in the jam and I just see
someone's going to get it. Don't want to get it.
It's a visual thing. But if I look in a jar of jam and it's like somebody's crumbs or a bit of butter, it's like,
oh, use a spoon for the jam. Have some glass. Anyway,
I'm glad we cleared that up.
Don't spend any more time worrying about my peanut butter jar. Could be a connotation for something else. Anyway, what you've been doing?
I have been doing some more walking about. I did a run on Saturday or Sunday. It's all a muddle. I think it was, Saturday, because I get Sunday free for Mother's Day. And I deliberately didn't do any exercise on Sunday because I thought, let's just be around.
Just be normal.
Be around with the family. And Sunday was lovely, actually. But on Saturday, I did 4 more Wainwrights. Branstry, Tarncrag, Grey Crag. And it's Grey Crag with an E. There's 2 Grey Crag, so don't get confused, and Southside Pike, and that's all in the Haweswater area, so you'll know that, doing the Lakeland 50, and it's normally not a great time for people, Haweswater, when they get to Mardale Head. They're definitely on the 100 anyway, they're struggling a bit. There's nearly
was coke needed.
When you got that
long climb after.
Got a taste. Is it Gate Garth Pass or something like that?
It's brutal. It's really steep, isn't it?
But when you're fresh there, it's not a bad climb, and it's like, oh, this is fine.
And it's quite short. I remember wrecking it and being like, oh, that's fine. That's not too bad at all.
Yeah, but after 70 miles, it's not fine.
It's tasty.
But it was wonderful. And again, just going to these places, somewhere I haven't been before. I've done the pass quite a few times, but I've never gone left or right up to Hartfeld. You went right or left Brand Street. I've never done that, and I probably wouldn't go there again because there's lots of other things and adventures to have. But yeah, it was wonderful. I just had a great time at Haweswater. Was just it was just like a little piece of magic. You know, when you see those postcards and the water is just like glass, and then the reflection of the mountain comes down on it, and you don't know where one starts and one finishes. It was just perfect. But there was a lesson, maybe, well, it wasn't quite a lesson, but sometimes it's nice to be in the moment. And I got out of the car and I just soaked up the view for 5 minutes, took a few photographs. And anyone who knows Mardale, it's one road in and one road, basically one in and one out. And there's a car park at the end, and there's only so many spaces. And as I was enjoying the view, lots of cars kept driving past me. So I was like, shit, I better get a wiggle on. And luckily I got the last sensible space. Everybody else after that parked like idiots down in the valley. But yeah, so it was nice to soak in the views, but put some anxiety onto my day. Other than that, but yeah, that was wonderful. I really enjoyed that. So that will be coming to YouTube soon. Anybody who is doing YouTube, it's a hard slog, Eddie. My goodness me, you go out there. I was saying about the splits. I misunderstood your tone of your comment on Strava.
Upset. That's not pretty nice, Eddie. Well, Gary put his thing on Strava, and so I had to look at his Strava because the week before he'd gone, Did you not look at my Strava splits? And see, unless you're a client, to be honest, don't really look at people's Strava splits. But so I said I'd looked at your splits, and then
I just thought you were mocking me.
I didn't mean it like, oh no.
That's how it default.
That's a personal. I'd be like, yeah, it's personal.
But yeah, so that movie, when I actually get it up on YouTube, will be about 6 minutes, but I was probably out for hours just trying to bothering sheep and me jumping over cameras and stuff like
bothering
that.
Sheep, that, Gary.
So yeah, people who watch this like YouTube and think it's super easy, maybe it is for some people, but for most of us it takes a long time. But other than that, yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. A couple of strength sessions. I was on the bike 2 or 3 times, so that's good. I'm still keeping the fitness up there, and the bike is feeling easier. Actually, I might do another one of these FTP tests to see if
Oh, I love it. Have you done a race yet? You've got to do a race, Gary.
No, I'm on like a training plan, so I'm not really entering that side of Zwift just yet. I'm doing a training plan. Knee is feeling better, so that is good. Although it did feel a bit sorry for itself at the end of the run on Saturday, and I'm still smashing length. I have not faltered.
Love it.
I'm going to take it all the way through now to Lake 100.
Are you?
Yeah.
Jesus failed at that, and you didn't. You didn't take it to Lake 100.
You know, I'm not. If there's somebody's birthday, then yes, you can have a slice of cake. I'm not going to be like silly about it, but I'm
What's
quite
more choice, like, because I couldn't live without a snack when I'm hungry.
Yeah, yogurt. I'm eating a lot of yogurt, and I'm eating. I'll destroy a bag of carrots. I can literally.
This is not a life.
But yeah, you're not really supposed to have anything that's a treat. So it's up to you what a treat is. But yeah, I can't think of anything that I've done that maybe says I've failed at Lent this year. Apart from I did have a donut actually after Howard Hobble, but other than that,
donut schmonut.
But yeah, that's the plan, is to pretty much, if I can be 95% successful up into Lake 100, then I've got to say I feel pretty good on it. I've not been on scales or anything like that, but just generally, I'm quite good. I've said it a few times. Say maybe I might open up a bag of peanut M&Ms and just destroy the whole bag, and then feel pretty rubbish.
The highs and lows of the peanut. Actually, I saw some peanut M&Ms, and I was clearing. You don't do this because you're not the housewifely life that I lead, but I was clearing up my flour and baking cupboard, Gary, of glamorous shops, and I found a bag of peanut M&Ms in the back. I was like, nobody knows they're there.
Oh yes.
Put them back in there behind the stuff that nobody else uses, the flour and the chocolate, the things you never use, like coconut flakes and almond flakes that are just in the baking cupboard. So I'm gonna put those back in there. And in a weak moment, I'm gonna get that.
The mouse will have them.
No, it's a special cupboard. Mouse can't get in there. Right. I did see the mouse this morning. It's back. It's back.
The Chia Charge mouse.
Went out to the back and it skittered around my ski boot. And I was like, don't you go near.
Don't you dare.
Don't you eat that boot. You is going to be. It looked frightened. Every time I go around the corner, it's there. I'm always like, oh my God.
Little shoulders are.
And it's this tiny little thing. I'm back.
I wonder if it's the same mouse or they're just sending.
Definitely the same one, or one of a family. They rage a campaign against me.
I put if I've got any treats, I've got like a little sports box of my little sporty nutrition. But the odd chocolate bar used to make its way into there, because I know if it was in the other cupboard, it literally would be gone in a few days. So
you're doing great, Gary. You're doing great. Right.
Yeah, I'm really pleased with it.
Talking of people doing great, we had some Hardmoors 55. Lovely photos from Tim. Weather looked fantastic.
No, I think the Hardmoors 55 was made famous one year with the Beast from the East. So contrasting weather
I think
over
a
this
lot of
week.
people suffered by the looks of it with the heat. Because you're not used to it as well, are you? And you haven't really practiced drinking. Your body is not used to suddenly right, you're gonna keep this in, and it probably caught a lot of people, even if they tried to drink more, unawares.
It's a classic, isn't it? London Marathon that used to come up quite often. You'd train all winter, and then you'd have a hot day in April. You'd just be like,
it's so hot running around the streets of London. Anyway, result. You want to read the results now, Gary?
Yeah, Andrew Price took the win, 8 hours 36 minutes and 15 seconds, and Hannah McMahon, is that right? 10 hours and 9 minutes. So yeah, super great there. And a big shout out to one of our listeners, Peter Hatch. I think it's his third time of doing the 55, and he improved his time by 1 hour and 15 minutes. So that must have been an awesome day for Peter when things are going that well.
He smashed those electrolytes down.
Yeah, well done, everybody.
Well done, everybody.
I should be a Sado and look back at my 55 times, see if I would have fared well. I don't think I started with an 8.
Don't do that.
Pretty sure there wasn't an 8 at the start of my Hardmoors time.
I could have been a contender. This week, we had a great chat straight from Russ Morehouse's camper van, I think he was sitting in. So he had the realistic sound effects. All about, he is the first person to camp on all 214 Wainwrights. There's a quite a heavy Wainwright theme the last few months, but...
We've moved from Bob Graham to Wainwright.
Yeah, I'm loving it. He's also the Bivvybag World Record holder and the author of recently published book, Fell Asleep, which I read before our chat. I loved it. It's a little vignette of each of the Wainwrights, his walk up there, his camp overnight, and then he takes a picture. Perhaps if you're not English-based, Lake District-based, you've never been on a Wainwright, it's a lovely, it's a beautiful sort of caption of the amazing countryside and the different countryside around the Lake District. So the first book is all about springtime, and then he's going to release each little 3 other books according to the season. So here is our chat with Russ.
Well, today we've been super fortunate to be joined by Russ Moorhouse, fresh from your wild camping bivvy. My goodness me, how many? 214 Wainwrights, is that correct, Russ?
Yes, yeah. So I spent last year wild camping on all 214 Wainwrights. So it was either in a tent, a bivvy bag, a hammock on one of them, and 3 caves. So it was a great year.
Well, the first thing we ask all our guests is, how are you? Where are you? And I don't know the answer to this last question, but have you been for a run today? Are you a runner?
Well, yeah, I was a runner before I started doing this camping, and I'm going to go back to being a runner. But while I was carrying my rucksack up and down the hills every day, I didn't manage to do much running in the winter.
No.
Yeah, but I love fell running, and I was heading down the route of doing 100-miler before I managed to luckily avoid that and discover this Sleeping with Wainwright adventure. So it was a challenge that saved me from doing 100-mile endurance events.
Did you have one in mind?
No, well, it was the Lakeland 100. That was the one I was thinking about. I was living in Preston before this, and we had a dinner, and the chap organised it came as a guest speaker and was talking about it, and it just sounded really good. And I'd been doing lots of training and done some 50-milers in training. And then one day I was just ticking the Wainwrights off, just peak bagging like lots of people do. And I was walking up Skiddaw, and there was a chap sort of on his own, befriended me. He'd come up from the south, and we were on Carlside, Longside, Ullock Pike. And I bumped into him once, and they said hello, and then we turned round and went different ways, and bumped into him a second time, and then we walked together for a bit, and he was telling me that he'd done this 100-miler, and it was horrible. And he enjoyed the first hour, and after that, it was horrible. His skin fell off his feet. He couldn't walk. He was embarrassed about taking 38 hours or something. It seemed very fast to me. And after telling me how horrible it was, he said, you should really do it. You should really do it.
I'm sure he's entered another one.
Yes, yeah. So I thought, well, yeah. So I was going down that route. And then I like wild camping as well. And I really enjoyed doing that. And then I had this idea to do this. It had never been done before. And I'm not fast enough to ever win any races. I've done a sub 20 or a sub 19 park run is my fastest. And so I got good for my size. We're quite big, but I was never one of these really fast runners. I've done a few fell races and that side of things. But, you know, it'd be different if you could win. I'd have loved to be like a Rob Jebb or Steve Bergman winning these events. I bet that's a high.
Oh, my goodness.
So, yes. I'm not fast enough to win any races. I'm not a good enough climber to climb the North It's the Eiger, but I was good at sleeping. So I made my own championship up and crowned myself world champion in mountain sleep bagging.
Yes, you're quite unique, Russ, because I think you're one of the first people we've interviewed who is not you openly say at the start of your book, you know, I didn't do this as a race, as a competition. This was just something, it was for the journey and it was for the experience. And that comes out, I think the more, the first of your books is out, which is called Spring, Sleeping with Wainwright. And I think it almost comes out the more, as you go through the book as well, you realize how much it's much more about the journey and being in the mountain. Can you tell us a little bit about sort of maybe the layout of the book? How it came about, and did you write, were you going to write the books, what came first? Was it like, I'm going to do this as an experience and then I'm going to write about it, or did you write as you went through?
No, they sort of had the idea jointly together. So I used to go wild camping. I've got a friend, we go every first week in September every year to the Lake District, and we always talked about writing a book. And for the last few years we said, oh, imagine having a year in the mountains just living here. And we'd only go for 1 or 2 nights and then get rained off and come home. And we're like, well, it's never going to happen. Everyone's thinking you're like your dosser, weren't you? No, I would have realised what a challenge it was. And then for some reason, that little daft conversation turned into reality. And I'm not a YouTuber, and I'd never been on social media before this, but books was my sort of thing. It's shown my age a little bit. And so, yeah, I always wanted to write a book about it, and I wanted to do the adventure. And I didn't want it to be competitive. I'd worked in like a burnout job for a bank, and, you know, and it's all targets, and every year it starts again. And it's just, you never do enough for these big companies, do you? Like, whatever you do, they want more from you. And then there's a new generation coming through who do that. So, and it shouldn't really be like that. And then I've got my children, and I started to care about the future they're going to be in. So I thought I need to do something, my little bit, towards shaping the country and what you can do for take the pressure off all of this, you know, because you're heading somewhere. I was making lots of money for people so they could have more money. And I used to sit with customers who had $500,000, million in the bank, and they'd complain about whatever. And like, but they're not spending it or doing it. It's just their numbers. It's imaginary, really. Whereas you actually want to experience. So I gave all that up and then just swapped all of that sort of possessions for experiences, really. And I don't regret it at all. Like, financially I'm poor, but in every other way I'm really rich at the moment, so it's really good.
And what drew you, obviously you're not new to wild camping, but what is it about wild camping that you enjoy so much?
Yeah, well, the best thing is, I think, it's time in the mountains. So it's time. Obviously, people, when they go away, you want to get a break from your life. You go into the mountains to spend time. And I love fell running, and I've done quite well. I've done the Grasmere one and the anniversary waltz race and a few of those, or the Kentmere Trail series and things like that. And they're great, and it's lovely being in the mountains. But it's kind of the irony of fell running, isn't it? Where you're moving so fast through it that you don't get to observe it all.
That's something about the book was like, I'm really guilty of that. And I live in the Alps and I hardly ever stop to look at the view.
Yes.
Still like, we've got to keep that heart rate up. But you really, you're taking your time, and you like every little moment you're there and you're in the moment, which is so unusual.
Yes. Yeah, and that's what it gave me the opportunity to do because there wasn't a rush. So like, on some days when I was tired, all I had to do was get to the top of the mountain, which for a lot of people is a big thing, but it becomes like just the Wainwrights, aren't they? And people do all of them in a week if you really want to be fast, or you can do like 10 at a time. But I treated each one separately, so I went up and down separately each day. So they're all sort of standalone mountains for me. And obviously I had to be there overnight. So the evenings and the mornings, it was deserted. The Lake District isn't a busy place, you know, but obviously they're tourist hotspots, but up on the mountains, there's still so much. There was no one around me. On the vast majority of them, there was nobody anywhere near me at all. So only a couple in summer where there was a tarn nearby, and the tarn obviously attracts people. Yeah. But most of the time, no mountain to myself. And first it was a novelty, and then I got used to it.
When there were people there, you were like, oh.
I was bivvybagging on Barrow one night, and it was in the summer, and I got there kind of late because only a small one, and I set my bag up on the top and was taking pictures of Grisdale Pike at the sunset, and then a couple of walkers turned up finishing off the Coldy Horseshoe, and I was like, I felt like they'd come into my bedroom. I looked at them, you know, imagine if you're in bedroom, someone walked into your bedroom, you'd be like, what are you doing? That's how I felt. So.
There's times I've been running early in the morning on the fells, and say maybe, for example, it could be on Bled Catherine. I nearly tripped over somebody who was bivvying pretty much on the summit, even on Dale Head. And these are pretty accessible fells. Have you ever felt quite mindful, like, oh my goodness, if I pitch my tent here, this is going to be potentially quite busy?
Yes, yeah. So I always tried to keep out of the way. So I did camp on the top of Dale Head, but it was when there was snow. I think it was the December snows, so there was, it was deserted. There's no risk of anyone coming past. Yeah. And if it was really bad weather, like rain, when you know there'll be no one else coming up or down early in the morning, then I'm quite happy to camp nearer the path. But on like the summer days when there was an option, then I tried to find somewhere more hidden because, I know myself, you don't want to get to the top of a mountain and see someone camping because it would spoil it for me. So I always try to sort of disappear and, not be in anybody's way, be like a ghost.
Rules, isn't there? There's certain rules as well in the Lake Districts about where you're allowed to wild camp, aren't you? But there's certain rules that you have to follow.
Yes, yeah. So you have to have the landowner's permission, and a lot of the land is owned by the National Trust, and they sort of give permission as long as it's within their guidelines. Okay. So it's got to be up high, really, so nothing near the lakes, islands, or roadsides. So it's got to be a long way to carry your bags above the highest fell wall, they say. And then obviously leave no trace, which is something I was keen to promote. You want to know, you go there because it's lovely, and you want to leave it lovely for when you go back again, or if somebody else comes. I just don't understand people that would go and leave a mess. Why would they go all the way to the Lake District because it's nice and leave a mess so it's not nice anymore? It doesn't make sense.
Is there any principles with the leave no trace? I know there's the obvious one, obviously don't litter, but is there anything else? A lot of our runners are trail runners and will find themselves in these situations, but I don't know, I'm trying to think of something that maybe, I don't know, don't take a rock from the summit of Scarfield Pike. Is
that's it, exactly, yeah. So there's leave no traces to nothing. So moving rocks, obviously, there's cairns. There's some nights it's really windy. I had to move some rocks, weight down my tent pegs. Yeah. But obviously I had to put them back, or they're not left randomly around afterwards. And snapping branches off trees, that's a big no-no. I never have fires because I don't really think that's good etiquette. Although it's nice to have a fire if you can where you're allowed, but top of the mountains, it's not really the done thing. Yeah. So obviously don't want people snapping stuff down and damaging it like that. And there was a good question. I saw some of the mountains, people leave these pebbles is becoming a big trend. They get a pebble and they paint it and they leave a little message on and they leave it on the mountaintop. So at first you think, oh, it was quite nice. And then I was thinking, is it good or not? And someone said, happy birthday, Grandad. And I was like, well, the conclusion I came to is if the Grandad comes up the next day and takes it home with him, then it's nice. But if it just gets left there, even that sort of litter, so I don't really want that. I know in the Alps they have signposts, don't they, everywhere? I've been to Chamonix a few times and hiked around there, and then you need them, I think, because the mountains are different.
Yeah, we say that to the kids. Take photos, leave only footprints and take photos. And they're really, and even in the Alps, they want you to stay on the path. Because of all like the alpine flowers and everything and the amount of people on the trail, that if everybody takes a different path, you end up eroding a much bigger path. So it's a really strict thing And like the guides, because there's lots of mountain guides, because it's that bit higher, they'll actually like, they'll tell you off if they see you like coming down and your dog's off the lead or or eroding the path or anything like. They'll say that. I think that's probably a bit more of a European thing, probably a French grumpy thing.
Yeah, oh yeah, I remember. Yes,
fell running races now you see quite often. They flag the course just purely for, I think, fell erosion. I think that's what they do now. Logistics, planning your challenge. Yeah, how did you approach that? And I'm really curious also, how did you, with people say Steve Birkinshaw with his Wainwrights, there was a route that they took. How did you determine which Wainwright you were going to do that night?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't want to follow routes because I walked the Bob Graham before and the West Highland Way and things like that. And when you're on a trail, there's always a point where you know what's coming next because you're following the set trail and it's like a Grand Prix circuit, isn't it? You know what's coming next. However big, even if it's 60-mile loop, you still know which mountains are coming, and there's a point where like, oh, I've got this, and this to do. So I tried to avoid that because I was wanting like a non-competitive, just an experience. So the best way to do that, I thought, was to put all 214 names at the start into a bag, a yellow bag. Awesome. And then each day I just picked one out randomly, and whichever one it was, I went and camped on that one. And obviously the only rules I had to get to the top, and then I had to camp on the mountain. Yeah. Obviously, if it was a small one, I sometimes had lovely big walks and took in a lot of other areas as well. But it was like I had to get to the summit of that mountain, so get your summit selfie, and then get my camping on that mountain. So
I don't know. I can just imagine you're in Keswick or something with your little bag, and then you really want Skiddaw, but you actually get you get Great Gable or something like that.
There were sometimes I always thought the yellow bag almost had like a brain towards the end and looked after me. I used to think it knows what it's doing. There was a storm, and it was Storm Anwin or Arwin, was it? And it was really bad. And I was like, there was snow on the ground still, and there was gale force winds coming and worse weather and sleet in the air. And then it gave me Bessie Boot. And I was like, oh, Bessie Boot, that's, I mean, it's steep, isn't it? In that sort of area. But then I looked in the book and there's a cave on the side, which I didn't know about before. Yeah. So I went and found the cave and camped in there, and I was out of the storm, and I was like, oh, wow, the yellow bag is looking after me. But then sometimes it's probably got a malicious side because I was on Coniston, or one of the Coniston ones, and then it sent me all the way to the Northern Fells, to High Pike, High Seat. And then next day, all the way back to Coniston. I was like up and down. The way it goes.
I was wondering, you said about the cave. Did you have any rules then? So, typically there's some kind of, it could be a cane or something like that to kind of mark the summit. You were okay, as long as you touched the summit and did a selfie, then you could go maybe and camp somewhere. Yeah.
So, I mean, what inspired it was there's a Nan Shepherd quote, which was about, not until you sleep on a mountain, you sort of get a bond with the mountain, and then it becomes special to you. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be sleeping on the summit. I've got to get to the summit to climb the mountain, but then just sleep on the summit. So you carried your bag all the way up to the top. You're not going to carry it back down to the bottom and camp. But there were certain times, like when there was a storm, I could get camp in a cave. I slept on Jack's rake on Bivvybag because that was just a really cool spot, and I was really wanting to do that beforehand. Yeah. So I was like,
Harry's like, no, I wouldn't want to do that.
So that was a good one. And a lot of the times I was on the summit, and then apart from when it was really windy, and then obviously there's always one side sheltered of a mountain, so I didn't have to give up on any, but I dropped down. But it comes from what made me really think the deciding factor to start was I was doing just a fell run on the weekend with my son, and we parked up near Dubbs Road, and we're running over the Yoke, Eelbell, Frostwick, and then over to the Red Screes, top of Kirkstone Pass. Yep. And I ran past 3 places where I'd been camping before, and all of them, when I ran past them, despite the mountains, I really sort of memorised, I've slept there in a bivvy bag, and I've slept behind that wall on Thornthwaite Crag. So they really, when you go back, and then I was like, if I'd slept in all of them, you'd have this extra really bond with the Lake Districts there.
What did your kids think about this journey?
Well, they thought I was crazy, but also they gave me their blessing first, because they're teenagers now, so they're just at an age where they don't need me around quite as much as when they're little, and I wanted them to see me being like, doing something with my life, not just plodding on and just doing the sort of job. So, they thought I was crazy, but they loved it actually, and they're quite proud of me. And You know, the fact I've got an Instagram following to make fun of, because
Oh,
like,
oh,
you know.
this is super cool, Dad.
But
Did you
then,
manage to tempt them out, or did they ever spend any nights under the stars?
Yeah, so my son came on 5 of the camps. He wanted to do one every season.
Awesome.
So we did one every season. And then my daughter got into it as well. I've always taken them camping, but she liked campsites. So for a birthday, we would go to the campsite. It's the one near Langdale, the big family one. So we went there, and she's like, I don't want to do bivvybagging. But as the year went on, she got into it. And then on New Year's Eve, she's like, oh, I want to go bivvybagging. I said, we can take the tent if you want. And we took it to set up, but she's like, I'm not getting in the tent. So stayed in the bivvy bag. So we stayed in a bivvy bag in Longlands Fell. So they loved that. Now,
what a life lesson you've taught them, though. Like you talk about in the book about how unhappy you were in your job, and to take that big plunge of like jacking it all in and then going off and doing something completely different. They've seen their dad do that. I think that is priceless, to be able to see that you chose happiness and fulfillment over
and possibilities too.
Yeah. Well, a big life change of direction, and you weren't scared to do that, which a lot of people would be.
Like I said, I asked them before I started, and we worked it all out. Like if I was going to go for the year, I'd see them less, because obviously we always used to hang around all of the time. But they gave me the blessing, and so they were quite happy for it. And now, when we go in curries with my daughter, she always goes on the laptops that are there, and she types my name in, and then my picture comes up on the top, and she disappears off and stuff. And her friends think it's cool. So you know you've done well if you've got a teenage daughter whose friends think you're cool. So I'm quite happy with how it's turned out.
Do you ever fancy Bivvy and Eddie? You've done that?
Oh, we're big fans. My husband's an ex-military, Russ. So he said we've done. We've not gone. I think probably this year, now the kids are a bit older, we'll go full bivvy with them.
Right.
But we've done more with tents, because they're that bit. They've all been under 10 so far.
Oh, right, yes.
Yeah. Oh, there's nothing my husband loves more. He's got his old army bivvy bag and a hike up, and then sleep in his bivvy bag. The amount of people I trip over when I'm out early running, and actually the dogs find them first, and I'm like,
right, yes. Yeah.
Do you have any dogs wake you up, Russ?
Hey, have I missed something there?
Did you have any dogs wake you up? Because my dogs often find people sleeping in big bags before I do. No rude awakening.
I had a couple of Bob Graham runners when I was on Steel Fell coming over. You can hear them approaching. They're like, got the headlights on, and they're like, oh, what's that over there?
Chatting away.
They're like, oh, it's a blue bag. What's that blue bag? Oh, there's a person in the blue bag. Oh, sorry, did we wake you? And I'm like, yes, you did wake me.
That was us.
And then they're off. Yeah.
When I was going up Blencathra, there was this dude, and it wasn't great weather. And he was just there, literally just off the summit. There's like a little tarn just off the summit. And I just couldn't believe it. It was like, but then I thought, I would absolutely love to do that. And now you mentioned about the caves, I'm thinking, well, you go for one of those summits, and if the weather's not great, you just go and head off to the cave there.
I know, yeah. It's a lot of fun. It's really been. It has just been fun. Sometimes the fun overshadows the challenges, because when I talk about it, I'm like, it's like this one big adventure type of thing, you know. Whereas if I was better at like sales or something, I could be saying, well, I've overcome hardships. It was such a struggle, but I survived and I carried on through it all.
Unique selling point, Russ. Unique selling point. That's what it's all about.
Good. It was just fun. We just had fun for a year.
Was it 1,387 people bivvying at once?
Yes. So that was to mark my final night.
Yeah. And when did that, was that something that you planned from the beginning, or as you were kind of carrying on your journey?
It just sort of evolved as it went on. So at the beginning, I started off going, and a few followers, a few people were interested in meeting up. And some people were saying, oh, we'd like to come and see you at the end. Where are you going to be at the end, on your final day? And then so I had the idea of, we could have like a big wild camp at the end. But it goes against everything that wild camping is, having 1,000 people all on one summit or something, So it doesn't work like that. So then the idea changed. And I obviously didn't want to sort of break any rules for the sake of like anything like that. So it turned into this sort of world record event for the biggest number of people bivvying on one night. And we had people from all across the country in Eastern Europe, a few South African, and someone in Alaska joined in from like a snow bivvy, and loads of groups of scouts and lots of first timers sort of got involved. So I don't know the number of first timers, but the the response on the Facebook group where you had to log everything was just awesome. People were just buzzing afterwards, and it's the fact that it was like my adventures inspired that many people to have great fun and try stuff they hadn't done before was just, that was a big surprise. I didn't think I'd get anywhere near that number. I thought like 50 or, 100 people might want to join in, but it just kind of grew. So yeah, it's incredible.
But it's amazing how it grows. I think I mentioned on one of our messengers, it was my brother-in-law that was telling me about this world record attempt and just the reach. Just have one conversation, then it comes to the podcast and hopefully our listeners, and it's just amazing how things spread. How did they? You said about the Facebook group, but how did then say Guinness or whoever it is ratified the event? Was there anything you had to kind of follow?
Yeah, so I spoke to Guinness beforehand. It's a really slow process with them, but I think I spoke to them in September asking them about, setting up a Bivvybag World Record, and there wasn't one in place at the moment. So it's a new one, but they have sort of guidelines that they have to make and you have to meet and everything. So it has to be, there's too many to go into, but they're quite sort of strict on what you can and can't do and everything. And so we had to make sure the wording fitted. So we didn't want tents, and we, so it became sort of the number of people bivvying on one night, and to prove there weren't photographs from the old days, because it was all done virtually, I released a code word at sort of noon on the Saturday, and there was 24 hours from when that was released in order to take a picture of your bivvying and your bivvy bag and then upload it onto the system.
What was the code word, Russ?
Well, the code word was "fell asleep" by chance.
Hey.
Also happened to be the name of my book. So you couldn't believe it. What are the odds on that?
What are the chances of that?
What are the odds on that? But nobody knew what the book was called at the time, Cool. So
we're talking very humorously about this wonderful experience, but there must have been some moments perhaps where you questioned your sanity when you were out. Any highs and lows that you particularly like to share?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of highs. The lowest points were just when it was really miserable weather. I mean, when I've written my book, there's some days I did sort of give up. But the lowest points was sort of normally when my Mrs. Bivvy or my girlfriend Doro came with me, turned into Mrs. Bivvy during the year after her first bivvy bag night. So she came along, and I think because somebody was there with me, it allowed me to be a bit weaker. So it almost, it feels a bit unfair to her, but she was with me, then I could whinge on. Was I'm on my own, I had no chance but to get on. So I feel a bit bad in that way. But Frostwick, which she described at the beginning as like a beautiful mountain, we went to Red Screes, and then the next day she was pretending to do what I do on Instagram and naming the mountains, but she couldn't name them Wainwrights. So she was just going, there's a Wainwright, there's another Wainwright, that's a Wainwright, that's a pretty Wainwright, which is Frostwick. So that became her favourite mountain. So I said, at some point we've got to camp on there. And then I think we did it after the Kendall Mountain Festival, and we drove, and it was a long walk along, I'm trying to get the name, Garburn Pass, and up that way and over Yoke and Eelbell. We got to Frostwick, and it was wet and raining, and nobody was out that day at all. It was miserable, and we were drenched through, and it was wet. So we put the tent up, and when she came along, I had a bigger tent for the two of us. So you had to put the inside bit up first. So that filled with water before we got the fly on. And I was just like,
oh my goodness.
I'm keeping going. But then she was like, she was loving it. She didn't, the bad conditions, she enjoyed more than anything. She's like, this is great. Yeah, this is what she liked. So it reminded me that when you don't need to do it one weekend to do it, then you love it whatever, don't you? You love it whatever. So.
Yeah, you were like...
Did you ever abandoned it? I was curious, because you probably, while come through we've had 1, 2, 3, about 6, 7 storms. Any attempts abandoned? You kind of went back the next day?
No, I finished all of them, but there were some hairy moments. There was the tents, like the pole snapped when I was on High Raise in the Far Eastern Fells. I camped behind this wall, and it was a new tent, but I got given for winter, but the wind was so strong and it just pushed it down, so the whole weight went through the top poles, and it snapped the back one. And then it obviously lost rigidity. Yeah. So I had to come out in the storm, and I got a spare tent peg, so I put it next to the pole and tied it on with a wet hiking sock that I had, just to keep it in place. And then lasted for the morning. So, and then I used a different tent the next night. So that was a tough one. And I think in all, I had about 6 nights where the tent pole snapped because I'd got used to the wind and everything. Like my ears, when you start off, it's often very scary. It's one of the scariest things when you start off wild camping, the wind sound. And I just, as the year gone on, I got used to it. So I'd stopped thinking, oh, it's really windy, I should find somebody from my tent. I was like, I've got to the top, I'm tired, I'm sticking my tent up here, and you're trying to peg it down in the wind, and you put it up, and then it blows, and it just looks snapped. So yeah, I put one picture of the tent. I was quite proud of it, standing up to the storm, but the tent manufacturer was unhappy. They went, it looks like the tent's been failed, it's ruined.
Oh,
like,
no.
It's doing well.
I'm not sure I should ask this next.
Should have had one of the wind speed little gauges.
I know.
This is not good. Well, our next question was any tips for people to find a good camping spot, but I'm not sure you're the one to ask for this now. If you are going off wild camping, what are the sort of things that you would look out for your camping
spot? The best tip is sheep always know the best spot. So wherever there's loads of sheep poo, that's your best spots because they sit and they on the nice flat ridges high over the mountain looking out. Yeah. You see a lot of sheep poo, that's a good spot to camp. But
would you clear the poo? Or would you just let it lie?
Yeah, sometimes I'm not going to be bothered off.
Would you be tracking?
Grass,
I don't know.
Isn't it? It's just grass that's gone through a tube at the other end.
Yeah. Would you be mindful of like, I don't know, I want to see a sunrise or a sunset? Would you be?
Yes, yeah. I mean, every day we joke, but I sort of weighed up the odds. I needed to get a good photograph every day because I wanted a nice picture, special, wild camping porn picture had been described as, some amazing shots. So I was trying to do that, foul weather shot that was really good. So, yeah, sometimes that dictated it. So it's nice when you get a view out the window of your tent, isn't it? And different tents have the doors on different sides, at the front or the side. So that was something to look for. And just, I looked for nice spots, somewhere with it just the best one I could do. And when it was really bad weather and you camped in a hollow to make it safer, then if I was tired, it was nice. I was relaxed. So I'm in my hollow. I'm like hidden away from the world, but you never get a signal or anything in your hollow. Yeah. And I did, although I love being on my own and away from people, I still also need the social media. It's like so contradictory, really. It's like I hate people like being on my own, but I need to put this on and talk to people that way.
But when you were have those moments without a phone signal, was it? I imagine it was like just liberating, was it? Like literally, you were there doing that, and there was no other distractions.
Yeah. Yes, the whole experience was brilliant. It was just, I loved all of it. The only bad thing was getting towards the end, and this is finishing an adventure was like a big cliff edge because I'd done it for a whole year. That had become a way of life. At the beginning, I sort of thought I lived in the van, and then I'd go up and camp on the tent and come back down to my van and drive around. But in winter, it sort of changed where I was living on the mountaintop in my tent, and I'd come back down and get more food and go back up because I was spending so much time up there. So the whole sort of mental attitude had changed. So like the tent was my home. So what I really looked forward to doing was getting up, setting the tent up, climbing in, and then I was like, oh, I'm away from it. And then you'd have to go out of the tent to get a signal and stand on the summit. But inside the tent was a little haven away from everything else. So
magic.
I love that. So that was really good.
Cool. So we need sheep poo. That's what we're looking for, sheep poo on our wild camping. May as well give your, I'm not too sure if you're ambassador for any bits of kit, but any particular good bits of kit that you'd like to give a shout out to?
No, not particularly. I'm not a big kit person. For me, it's more about the experience. I only got lots of free kit during the year that has been very useful because you get camping kit lasts a long time if you use it 2 or 3 times a year, but when you use it day in, day out, it's not going to last that long. And I got to the stage of nearly getting paid once for recommending a product, and I hated it. So I was like, as soon as I signed his contract, where I had to say stuff how good it was, even if I didn't like it, for the sake of £100, I was like, I didn't do it. So the next day I said, it's not working. I don't want any money for me to say this kit's really good or whatever. So I didn't like that. So I like free samples that I can take. Thank you very much is nice, but as soon as you start getting paid, it becomes, you're like,
well, it's against the whole point of your
it wasn't about that. I didn't want to be that person.
Can be conflicting if you're not keen on the bits of kit.
Did you have
you can't be honest, can you?
Any luxury items that you carried up that you could have done without, but you were like, no, I don't mind the extra weight?
What I love best of all was my little stove. I had this stove. It's the same one from the beginning. It's an MSR burner.
Are you a tea drinker, Russ? Cup of tea when you get up there?
Black coffee is what I like. So I really love black coffee. So, and I let it cool a bit. So it's only Nescafe or whatever, instant coffee, whatever it was. But it tastes really good in the mountains. So like boil hot water and put it in and give it just 2 minutes. So it was about 80 degrees and it was really nice. So that was my favorite tipple. So,
Right.
And fizzy water in the summer, I used to carry up a bottle of fizzy water because I didn't drink beers or anything.
Yeah.
So like that was my little treat. And then a little tip is in the summer, on sunny days, if you put an Earl Grey tea bag in your fizzy water bottle and it makes it all flavoured, I call it a fizzy Earl. So I was drinking them on the top of Castle Crag in the sunshine.
It's wild.
That was gorgeous. Yeah.
If you could go back to one of the Wainwrights and camp again, which one do you think it would be?
Oh, the one that comes straight to memory, and if I got the same sunset, I'd go back to Scout Fell because that was just amazing. So I climbed onto the top of there. It's a beautiful walk up. You go over Steeple all the way from Ennerdale and get to Scout Fell summit. And then that was a day Mr. G, Mr. G running free was trying to he got the record for the fastest unsupported Wainwright round, and he was going to get as far as Kirk Fell. So I just love the mountains as a playground. So I was on the top and I was going to run over to see him on Kirk Fell, and there's only sort of pillar in the way. So I'm like, I was going to nip up and down pillar and over there to see him and then come back. And then in the evening, the sun was setting and there was like a cloud on the horizon and the sun was behind the clouds, so the rays were coming above and below it, either side of it, and everything was like a metallic sort of colour. So there was like purples and oranges and yellows, and it was just amazing. And I was just like, that was one of there's been quite a few like that, but that was really special. So
I meant to ask you earlier, some phenomenal photographs. Would they be with your smartphone or did you have a DSLR?
Just an iPhone, yeah. I started off with a cheap phone and people said it wasn't good enough. So after about 2 weeks, I bought the iPhone 12. And then I just took them all with that because I didn't want to carry a big thing with me.
Yeah.
So
after such a challenge now, obviously you've got your books to sort of promote and you're living through those at the moment. Have you found the come down to like living a real life? Or are you finding you're still having to escape in your bivvy bag every so often?
Yeah, I haven't been camping since I finished. So it's been 2 weeks. I was at my book launch on Friday and I was at the job centre in Preston, which was kind of ironic, signing on. So I was like,
oh my gosh.
It's the other side, isn't it? So I'm like, so that was sort of the two sides of it. No, so I'm still adjusting really to normal life, or hoping that something happens where I don't have to go back to normal life.
Would you like to be in the outdoor industry? Is that something you're keen to do?
Yes, yeah. I want to do something outdoors or something. So, I'm not really sure. I'd like to just do more camping adventures, I think, or something perhaps, or become a published author. And my book becomes as famous as Rain of Winds, Salt Path, or something like that. And then I can just camp for the rest of my life.
Oh, wow.
That's the dream.
The yellow bag will have an answer for you.
Exactly, yes. I'll just keep looking in the yellow bag.
just keep it in hand and see what comes out.
Do you have any challenges though, that you're kind of cooking up for the future, or are they under wraps?
No, I mean the one I talked about to everyone, and I mentioned, and the more you mention it might happen, was like, because this was called Sleeping with Wainwrights, which was like this jokey title to get attention at the beginning. So the next one might be Sleeping with Whales, which is like the wild campers version of Swimming with Dolphins.
Yeah.
So there's I think Will Rennick ran all of the Welsh mountains, didn't he, last year? There's 189 of them. So there's a very similar challenge. So to do that in a year would be really good. And they're a bit bigger than the Wainwrights because they're all the 600 meters plus.
Ooh.
So
less fizzy water, maybe less carrying of the take the bag out a little bit lighter.
Yeah, so that was maybe, it depends how life fits in, but next month have a year off and then do that for another year or something. That would be a nice challenge, I think. Although maybe I've forgotten all the hard days already. I don't know.
And you can't forget about this. You're raising awareness and you're fundraising too. What was that charity? And is there a place people can still go fundraise? So
there's still, it's called MQ Mental Health Research. So that was something that the other side of it is, well, mental health is on the news today. I think there's like 1 million people, 1 million youngsters, children waiting for it to be seen. And there's like 3 million adults since COVID and everything, and it affects lots of people. And I've got my own. During the year, I was diagnosed with EUPD, which is something I've had all my life, but this sort of gave me the opportunity to get a diagnosis for it. And it's quite revealing in some ways. It explains a lot of things. And MQ Mental Health Research, just put research into the mental health illnesses and find more knowledge on it. And obviously, knowledge is power, isn't it? So the more we know about that, I kind of there might be a shift in the way everybody, it's all of this chasing money. Obviously, is not the right way to go, and that is bad for everyone, isn't it? And so, you do what you can to help. So they're sort of fun things, and it's all to do with your kids, isn't it? If you've got children, you want them to live in a better place than you do yourself, really. So that was the reason for that.
So that was MQ.
MQ Mental Health Research is what they're called. And there's a link on my link tree to take donations. So I had a Just Giving page for the Bivvybag World Record. That took over 10,000, about 10 and a half, I think. That might be closed down now. It's in the process of being closed down, but you can just give straight to the charity on their website. There's a link there if you want to.
Fantastic. Brilliant.
Oh, Russ, thank you so much. Gosh, I feel quite inspired to get in my bivvy bag. Not right now. We've got this phenomenon here today where the Sahara sand blows across the Alps. It normally happens here. So it's made everything really yellow, and it makes all the snow yellow. It's like a film of sand. It's literally a film of sand and thing. Like the light's really yellow. And I just washed the car after winter. Like €6 I spent washing that car, and it's now covered in sand.
You need to get out with your iPhone, Eddie. Take some pictures.
You can't really see it. You can't really see it on the phone. I'm not that clever. I need Russ to come over in this fancy iPhone camera and take some. Thank you so much. All the links to your donating pages and to the book we will put on the show notes. But I really thoroughly enjoyed reading your book. It took me less than a day. And I just enjoyed dipping in and out of it. And I really felt that I shared your journey, and I knew you quite, you're very open. And I really felt that you really, you were very honest about the journey, and I can't wait for the next one to see what happens in the summertime. I hope there's some Earl Grey tea bags in the fizzy water.
Yes, so that's the episode is in there.
Before we finish, we have Gary's favourite bit of the podcast, a quick five. Are you ready, Gary? Have we answered any of these?
Well, yes, you asked the coffee or tea, Eddie.
Oh dear. Right, I've got another one. I'll type it in as you start.
We have, to end every interview, we have our quick 5 questions. But before we get to that, I'm interested, do you think you'll ever kind of group all the photographs in one place and have a dedicated just photography book?
Yes, I mean, that was sort of torn between what to do, really, because it was almost like there was 2 books. There's the written story side, and then there's the photographs. So I thought maybe there could be just an art book with just the photographs, big and glossy, and then the storybook. So I might, when I finish, there was too much to put all in one book, which is why I've done it in seasons. So I think there's about 25,000 words, 55 pictures, and a picture's worth 1,000 words, they say. Yeah. So that's 80,000 words, which is what they tell you a book has to be. So each book will be 80,000 words. But when I finished, I might, the pictures add to the story as well. But maybe I could just do a text version and a photo book or something, yes.
Brilliant. Oh, well, can't wait to see that. Oh, well, thanks for your time today. But before you go, 5. Oh, Betty's put the last one in. Cool, right. Favorite, well, actually, let's give you some context to the story. You've hiked up the hill, you've reached into your backpack. What would be your favorite camping snack of choice?
One of these Be Good health bars, sea salt and chocolates. So it's like a nut bar, sea salt and chocolates that you get from, I think it's vegan friendly as well. Yeah.
I love a bit of
they're really nice. But you can't eat one, you have to have 2 or 3 of them. Yeah.
I think I know the answer to this one, but I'll ask it anyway. Tent or bivvy?
Bivvy's my favourite. I mean, I love a tent, and tent is a bit comfier, so I've used a tent more than a bivvy. But the bivvies are sort of special, so it's sort of yes.
Is there I don't know, you'd put is it like a bivvy liner? Is there like a system that you have, or is it literally just a really good sleeping bag? It's
just the simple bivvies. It's simplicity. I love. I try and keep everything simple, but I always put my sleeping bag inside my bivvy bag while I'm in the van, so that's shoved into my bag, and then I have my mat, which is just like a Z bed one normally. And that's the 2 things you need. So you hike up, you take your trainers off or your hiking boots off, depending on the weather, and then you put your mat down, you climb into your bag, use your rucksack as your pillow, you put your shoes under for your pillow for your photograph, and then you put them in the bag to stop it raining, and then you're done. It's simple, and then you sleep.
You can literally sleep anywhere. I think I'd struggle to get a 8 hours sleep
Yeah, I mean, I think I got used to it. I know the very first time I went bivvybagging was about 18 years ago. Well, I did it as a child, but 18 years ago, and I got this rab one, and I went. It was on the Forest of Bowland, and it was like on my own. It was terrifying, and it was the grouse butts and Wolf Hole Crag, and it was like most people are the first time. You're like, oh, you just can't relax. And there's a friend who was like, oh, I might sneak up and scare you. Obviously, not like what then scare you, is he? But that's what you think. But and then I was feeling so proud of myself in the morning for having managed to get through the night.
Yeah.
But then as it's gone on, it's become more just like, I'm tired, I'm sleeping,
Yeah.
If you know nothing and there's nothing going to happen to you type of thing.
That's true. Favorite season?
There isn't really a favorite when it's that sort of question, because they're all lovely in different ways. It definitely got harder. Winter was the hardest, as I'd planned, and the sunsets in spring were on probably the best. At the beginning, the first week was amazing. I probably didn't have as good a week in any of the other weeks as the very first one, when it was sort of in beginning of March last year. There was cold, like clear skies, and where you just got the sun, and because of the time of year, you get all the colours a lot more than you do in summer, where it's all sort of bleached out in summer. And they were just amazing. I was on Helvellyn, so the book cover picture was from Helvellyn in the first week, and that was just amazing. So they're all really good. Yes.
Hobnob or rich tea?
Chocolate digestive. Can I have that instead, please?
Yeah. Classic. And pain, or would you take a paracetamol instead?
No, I don't really do paracetamol or anything like that. So I just sort of put up with it. But I remained injury-free, really. It was, I didn't have, I once had trouble with some hiking shoes early on, and I bought cheap ones. And before I got given some really good quality ones, they were sort of causing my ankle a bit irritating and stuff. And then I went back to sort of fell running shoes in the summer, because it was hiking boots were just heavy. So I really like Adidas shoes. Innovate wouldn't give me any, so I'm obviously not trying to speak to them and get free stuff from lots of people, but they're obviously giving all this kits away that year. It was a shame.
Cool. Well, that's it. 5 questions. I'm done. Thanks so much for your time today, Russ. That was awesome.
Brilliant. Thanks, Gary. Thanks, Edwina. Thank you.
Thank you. So nice to meet you. Good luck with the book. And we look forward to seeing the front cover of the summer. When does the next one come out?
Probably beginning of June. So I'm going to bring it on the anniversary. So first week of June at some point, I think.
Well, definitely give us a nudge and we'll give it a share.
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool. Take care. Thanks.
Brilliant. Bye-bye.
Enjoyed that, Eddie. It was funny when I messaged Russ, he did say, you did realise I didn't run up the moor. And I was like, no, that's fine. It's a great story, and I'm sure our audience will love to hear from you. And
story, and why do you need to, as you and I often to say, like, actually sometimes the best runs are the ones where you're not rushing, you're taking your time and being in touch with nature. And that's why most of us run on the trails, is that connection with nature. And I've
taken, so hopefully our listeners take stuff away from it, but I've personally to do with Steve and Russ, just now I'm exploring all the Wainwrights, so it's hopefully you enjoy
looking off the path instead of just following that track.
We've got a super busy weekend this weekend, Eddie. My goodness me, it is all going on. First of all, though, we're on the tarmac, fast and flat Manchester Marathon. Manchester Marathon for me was the first time. Manchester Marathon,
is it going to be 26.2 miles, or is it going to be, was it like half a mile short?
It was short when I did it,
Gary.
And I don't know if there was any they say, if you want to qualify for London or something, you have to add 40 seconds onto us or a couple of minutes onto it. But yeah, it was short when I did it, and I wrecked my back. Oh my goodness. I remember nipped a nerve and then I literally couldn't walk at the end. It was so painful, and I just hobbled in. I was going for under 3 hours, and I just couldn't hang on. But somebody who will be going for 3 hours, so well under 3 hours, is Kieran Walker, who I'm not too sure if Kieran listens to the show, but he's used to be part of Sedgefield Harriers, and he lives close to me, and this guy is smoking fast, and I'm pretty sure he's going for the Commonwealth standard. So that, oh goodness, it's going to be like something like, is it 220 or something like that? Could even be a bit quicker. But I see his easy run splits and stuff on Strava, and it's just like mind-boggling speed.
It's like my coach's easy run splits too. Like, oh, anything fast, anything slower than a 6-minute mile. I'm like, oh, it's so unfair.
But he's so invested in it, you know, all the strength and conditioning, all the running, all the miles. He is smashing it. So yeah, best of luck, Kieran. And also somebody who we follow each other on Instagram, Instagram handle Coffee and Trails. And yeah, they're over to Manchester too. And yeah, by the Instagram handle, you can see they like the trails. But like myself, you know, I do like a bit of tarmac now and again too. So yeah, best of luck, everybody there.
We've also got the Shropshire Way 80K, which is a trail festival. They've got all sorts of different distances of races. They've got their normal Shropshire Way 80K, which I think they've run for a few years, and they've got 50 miles in 24 hours, a full distance trail marathon with a generous 12-hour limit, a half marathon with a 6-hour limit. So I think they are trying to get lots of people involved in running in the trails. That's this Saturday. Their mission is to connect people to the food, history and landscape of the Shropshire Hills. So they provide a quality choice of local food at our checkpoints. I especially got this for you, Gary.
You got me food, yeah.
Yeah, you can sample Shropshire fidget pies, a beef stew served in a barn high in the hills, local cheeses and sausages, as well as our famous Barabrith. I bet that's like a fruit cake.
I need to Google fidget pie. What's a fidget pie?
And then at the end for the 80Kers, there's a breakfast which caters for vegans and vegetarians as well. Oh my gosh, you're doing this.
That sounds awesome, doesn't it?
And I think all those foods would be fine on your Lenten band list. You could eat those without any.
I need to know what a fidget pie is. That's really
fidget pie. I'm not sure I could have a beef stew halfway through an 80K.
Oh yeah. Fidget pie. This is happening live, listeners.
I'll carry on reading what's happening while he's looking at what a fidget pie is.
Shropshire fidget pie. Ham, short crust pastry, brown sugar, potatoes, double cream.
Woo!
That does sound
got everything you need. Bit of protein, fats, carbs. Might be a little bit. I'm not sure. Would you want that?
That would be tough for me, say Lent, giving up pies, pastry. Oh,
that would be tough getting you out the checkpoint, I think, if they were like, here's your pie. Gary, no more pie.
Well, last, by no means least, though, is the Northern Traverse and also the Lakes Traverse. Both of these races start on Saturday.
I know that we've got former guest of the show, Elaine Basin, doing it, and also Anna Troop. Sadly, the weather is going to close in. This is not going to be as beautiful as it's such a pity.
I hope they get a break.
Best of luck if you're towing the line on any of those races.
Coming up, what you got coming up, Eddie?
Right. This is getting big. It's getting big now, Gary. I've got, instead of a lot of wandering around on snow, on skis, running, I've got actual proper sessions to do now. Proper sessions. Lactate, something about a lactate clearance. Move that one right to the end of the week. I'll put that one right up till Sunday afternoon. So I've got some proper sessions to do. I've started, so I've got a slight worry. Maybe people can help me with this. So I think I'm going to go with the Montane Gecko 20-litre pack definitely for the summer spine. I'm slightly worried about the shoulder straps with the weight in it for the winter, but I definitely think for the summer, because I don't have to have a stove for the summer spine. For the Challenger, I'm not doing the full spine. So I've started wearing it for my longer runs with a little bit of weight in. I was slightly cautious about building up that weight. I'm going to try and keep it at about 4 or 5 kilograms, hopefully. Okay. So I've started, obviously I've just messaged Debbie going, what did you use? Because I'm trying to copy you. So she started sending me, she's always trying to work. And I'm like, go back upstairs and go and look at tell me what you got for this. And what you got for this. So, and she's even like, so I packed it like this, Eddie. And then honestly, I'm so lucky. So I've got my bivvy bag. I've got my sleeping bag. I've got my roll mat. I've got I think I've pretty much got everything. I'm just I just bought some, I've got normal waterproof trousers, but to be honest, I've never, ever put them on. I don't think I've worn them in training. I've never worn them.
Well, it's pretty much the same as everybody else.
Yeah. So I have some really lightweight ones, but they're not going to cut it. And if I'm going to be carrying waterproof trousers for the summer, I'm going to I'm going to have to put them on, is the weather's going to be terrible. So I've invested in a bit more of a decent pair. I'm waiting for those to arrive. So I'm going to start wearing my pack, but I wore my pack relatively not too full last long run, and the chaffing on my back. Bryn said it looked like I was one of those monks that had got the
oh no.
Like, it's so bad. Like,
Someone else mentioned about
what can I do? Like, literally my skin, I reckon my skin is just like chaffable. What can I do? So I've seen people with like tape across their back.
Okay,
I don't do that for like do I just suck it up? Chaffing stuff doesn't
no.
cut the mustard. No. Like, there's not enough lube in the world to go.
That could be a race finish already.
I mean, I can take the paint. Some terrible things happened to my body when I did the Mont Blanc with my mates, with my backpack. I don't need to go into details, but the chaffing was horrendous. And I was able to carry on. Just the first like 10 minutes, I wanted to cut my eyes out. It was so painful. But I don't really want that. So what can I do? Apart from just more investing in lube products heavily. Because it'd be
worth trying, or maybe not like a KT tape or something. So
it's not my shoulders, it's my back.
Okay, yeah.
And it's not even like, it's just literally, if anything rubs like the slightest bit, I'm a goner. So anyway, yesterday when I went, I tucked a really tight t-shirt. I looked like a 1980s aerobic instructor. I pulled my like leggings right up to like below my rib cage, and I had my t-shirt like tucked, so there was no movement on my back.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
And I got a little bit of chaff, but not. That's my biggest worry at the moment. So not carrying the kit, not the 108 miles I've got to do, none of that. It's the chaffing. I know people understand, and maybe someone will go, "I've used this, and it's amazing."
I would always do that, like have a compression top, and then that wouldn't really move. And then
yes, all this I've tried is that even like, I think I just got skin like a delicate,
super soft skin.
Come on, skin. Oh, no. So yeah, a bit more specific, and I'm going to be starting that little bit of pack. I'm going to put all the sort of lighter stuff in the pack and just start wearing that, getting used to that little bit of a couple of kilograms.
Probably more relevant for you. I tested out those DextraShell socks. I think, like you mentioned, I had a sock liner, so a skinny sock, and then I had the DextraShell sock, because I don't really like the way they feel. And I think they feel a lot better than my last time I had some seal skins. And my feet went through some proper bogs. So they were a good test. And I have to say, my feet were dry.
What liner socks?
Oh, it was some in GG Toe socks, but some super skinny ones. And then the DextraShell with the crew socks. So
does that not make your trainer feel a bit small?
No, it's fine. I just loosened the laces a bit and did it like that. It was nice. I'm trying to think what the sensation was. So you go on a bog and your foot would get cold. So you'd think, oh, well, these are rubbish. They've not actually done the job. But it was just the temperature. But the actual foot, I never had any issues all day, actually. And they constantly were getting wet. Every, say, half hour or so, I was squelching around in something. So I have to say, big thumbs up. But last time I tried any waterproof socks, must have been bloody hell. About 8 years ago.
Come on a bit now. Yeah. We've got terrible weather coming in the next week. There's going to be it says snow. I think that's the tourist office. I think it's going to be alpine, horrible rain. So my socks are they're waiting by my on my bedside table. They're like, right, near the end of this week, I'm going to get them. But I have seen a lot of people. I did ask the DextraShell people, didn't I? I was like, lots of people have said that they like them with the liner, and they said they're made to not be worn with a liner, but we know that lots of people do. But I don't actually have any liner socks, so
mine weren't official liner socks, they were just some skinny.
So I'm gonna have a go with those two, and I'll report back.
Good luck.
Thank you. What about you? What's up? You were saying you got another week of...
I thought my Garmin training plan was starting Monday, but it's not. It's a week Monday, so I've got another week of dossing around.
Here I am sticking my ankles in ice buckets
6 times 8 minutes.
6 times 8 minutes. I have to take all my clothes off underneath chairlifts, and you're out just strolling around. But won't make any difference. You'll still be fitter than me.
I will be. I think this week, yes, carry on as I am. Won't do much. I'm loving the bike. I'm absolutely loved being able to still feel like I'm working out.
Endorphin hit. Get that.
That is awesome. And I my well-being it's been satisfied just by walking the dog and having a few hours out on the trails at the weekend. I am perfectly fine with that. But yes, it does feel like, Gary, you've not actually trained for a while. But I was thinking about this. Lisa and I were chatting earlier, and so if you were a proper athlete, so Howard Hubble was the end of that training cycle. So really, it hasn't been too bad. You need a proper rest physically and mentally.
I always think, I can't believe it. Like when people are like, do whatever, anything, any race, and then they're like, the next week they're back, and I'm like, surely, I don't think you did that training plan right if you don't need a longer rest and recovery.
But I am moving. I'm walking, I'm cycling.
Lots of different ways, and you're not you're moving, so but it'll be nice to have you back in the game. Nice to have you with your ankles are nice. I
looked at the first week, and there's 3 quality sessions in that first week.
Stop it.
They're not enormous.
Make sure you put them all like the day after,
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
so we can really chat about.
I'm just this is the thing, because I really don't want to move away from the bike. I'm enjoying the bike, and I'm just thinking, how do I, because I don't think I'm exactly the same as you, but I'm similar to you. Like, more is more, and I'm probably going to be guilty of doing all those quality sessions, and then the sessions that I want to do on Zwift, and that's.
Well, you keep your bike recovery, swap a recovery run for a recovery bike, because you can work a bit harder on the recovery bike than you could on a recovery run. You can do different, you can still get involved in Swift with that, and then 3 sessions sounds like quite a bit, and so you can just see how you feel and move one onto the
I did that. That was probably what I'd do, is lose a.
Or another thing that I often do as well is, like, if I want to do a long run, but or like you normally like your Wednesday long run is just to do an hour on the bike first, and then an hour run and build it.
Well, I thought maybe out of curiosity, swapping because there's always a long cycle, with the Zwift plan, and maybe not do the midweek long run and do or on a Saturday maybe. So instead of doing 2 back-to-back long runs at the weekends for Lakeland 100 training, maybe do one of those as a session on the bike, a long bike ride. I don't know how it's going to fit, and I'll hopefully find my way, because I don't want to just keep piling more on.
Why not? It's the best.
But yeah, not a lot. I think next week, I should really try and introduce some running. Otherwise, it's going to be a massive shock to the system.
Yeah, a little bit. Start Rexy back onto his training.
This is the worry. I think Rex could be the whole problem. Why I'm struggling a bit, because when he pulls so much, and say if you're going downhill with Rex, the how much that increases my force on my knees is I can't even work. I can't even
imagine having Lindy on a harness.
Yeah,
it's like quite terrifying. Like if I do have a harness, but the downhill, I have to like hold the handle and pull it back, because I'm like, you literally, if I fell as well, you wouldn't care. You just carry on running.
Yeah, just drag me along. Yeah. So I don't know how I'm going to, because I think on the flats and the uphills, that's perfectly fine. But on those downhills, even just walking him, he's just pulling me all the way down the village. And
a little bit of training, Gary.
Oh God.
Oh, I know. Dog training.
Train the dog, what? I'd rather just shout at him when he's naughty. But yeah, all right.
Right. Over on Facebook, we've got a competition. I at last put a picture up. It's late because I kept eating my breakfast and being like, I've eaten it again. So 2 breakfasts today.
Took one for the team.
Yeah, took one for the team. Had my breakfast and then did my run. And normally I have like a second breakfast, but it's not the same. But I recreated my delicious, so gross, breakfast over on Facebook. So we are asking you to put up a picture, and you're much better breakfast than mine. I want full English. I want eggs, toast, browns, and Gary and I will choose our 2 favorite pictures. Next week we said it was April the I think it's the 5th. It's on Facebook. Yeah, April the 5th. We'll choose our winner, and you will win some peanut butter, and I expect some other goodies as well. Chia Charge, not a hard competition. Enter, my friends, enter. And we will look forward to seeing all your breakfasts or second breakfasts or midnight feasts. We're not joking.
Like yourself, I have the same breakfast pretty much 6 days plus 6 days a
too
week.
much. It's just too much to think when you're trying to get. I give the kids. They have one leaves really early for college. He has to say, I just call him down, put his breakfast on the plate, and then the other two have the same breakfast. I just don't even ask them. I just say, breakfast is ready. They all have different stuff, but I just do it. And I try not to talk to them. And I just breakfast. I do.
Put my picture up soon.
Put your picture up. How many cups of tea do you have, Gary? Do you have cups of coffee in the morning?
I'm super fortunate. Lisa wakes me up with a cup of tea every day in bed.
Stop it.
It's magical.
What the hell?
That is just a wonderful start to the day.
Do you
Cup of
not
tea in
wake
bed.
up and we just grunt over the dishwasher to each other? I mean, it was, oh, terrible night. Terrible night too.
I have a good night if I've made it through the night without a wee. That's my like.
Since the clock's moved as well, I can't get to sleep because it's like 8 o'clock and I can't get to sleep. And then I just went to sleep last night and a small child appeared by my bed. Oh my God, my heart was like, Mummy, I was like, oh my God. And then the adrenaline hit. And then you put the back, and then I'm like, okay, back in the bed, podcast on again. How long am I going to lie here? Anyway.
Have you ever had this thing? I'm not too sure what it's called. It's where you wake up at night and you see a shadowy figure beside your bed and it's basically pushing you down. You can't move out of bed. It's just there watching you.
What the hell, Gary? Why would you even say that sort of thing to me? I don't like anything scary. What? No, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, it's quite. It is a thing. I've Googled it.
I don't want to talk about it anymore. Right. That sounds terrifying. It's enough that Bryn always teases me, going, "Oh, there's been no baby girl here for."
It's not a scary thing to feel. It's quite a strange sensation, but
no, I've never felt it, and now I'm worried.
It's going to happen to you too. I've planted something there. Sorry, Eddie.
Move on. Let's read some podcast reviews, please. I'll read this because you read it out. Bunch of Arsenal via Apple Podcasts. Turning a roadie into a hill junkie. Oh, I love it. Fantastic podcast for any runner. Perfect mix of the interesting, the insane. That's you, Gary. You're insane. And the inspiring. You've got this road runner running all the way to hills. Thanks, Joe B, for the recommendation. I wonder if
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Glad you're running to hills. So much better than road running. Just a little sprinkling of road running in there for everybody. Yeah. We're better on the trails. That was episode 83. What a load of twittering. If you've made it through, if you're on your long run, if you're in the car, well done for listening to all
went
of that.
from peanut butter to night terrors.
I mean, what a journey we've been on. I need a cover. Thanks to the 5-star reviews. Thanks again to Chia Charge for sponsoring the show. I'm coming over to the UK too soon. I'm going to be putting in a big Chia Charge order. I'm not paying income tax, import tax on those bars. I'm Eddie Sutton.
And I'm Gary Thwaites.
And let's run to the hills.